Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Ramakrishna, for briefly introducing me. So next 1.5 hours, I'm going to share my 20 years of research experience. Out of that, 11 years I worked as a scientist in Government of India Research Organization. And also before that, I worked in a private research organization where I carried out a number of experiments on different materials. Basically, material research is my strength, and I will share you not only theory. So everything I connected with my research work experience for the last 21 years. I did a lot of projects. So whenever I handle each project, I have a lot of memories because I collaborated with a lot of people. Some of the projects, students are involved along with me, and a lot of experience. But anyway, very few. I will take out from that and connect through research methodologies now. Okay, you will not get bored. And I think this is my 225th talk. For the last few years, I am giving talks on different topics. I will make sure that you will not get bored. So we all know that anyway, all our faculty, we are all doing research from our bachelor's degree to master's degree. Then as a faculty, we guide students like bachelor students and even the master's students. And some of you are having PhD scholars also. And some of the projects like private funded or government funded projects also we are handling. So any problem you take, you do a systematic investigation. So with the materials and resources, and finally you will establish a new conclusion out of it. And it's an independent work, whatever you are doing. And most of the work, original work you carry out. And finally you contribute to the knowledge of that particular area. And as a faculty, we all know that it should be suitable for publication. And I will explain you the various types of research also in my coming slides. So when you are doing it, planning and execution, particularly the methodologies are very important. How do you handle each research problem is a different. Whether it is a BTech project, MTech project you are guiding, or a government funded or a private funded project. So you have to clearly state the objectives. We almost miss in stating the objectives. That's where most of us, flunk it, because when we take a new problem, we won't, clearly state the objective. And many times we don't identify the importance and current relevance. Most of the times what we do, people are doing, composites as a main research area. So last 20 years it is happening and we still do it. But the thing is, how it is relevant to the current application is very important. Accordingly you have to choose. Because I worked in a natural composites area, because my research organization, we worked on bamboo composites. We produced, very good number of composites, and Northeast we transferred the same technology. And justification is very important. You have to ask yourself, why we are doing it. Otherwise, it is just like for a sake of publication or sake of a thesis, it comes out. And the literature review is very, very important. But many times we don't find time to do the literature review. We'll ask our student or we. So there should be a technique wherein if you have a group of students who are going to do the research, so you should guide them how to do the review of literature. Very important. I follow a different techniques because suppose 5 of the BTech students or 4 of the BTech student comes, I will tell them each paper you read it and come out and present only that paper through slides. And I will tell them how to modify it and all. So based on that, you have to draw out some of the research problem relevant to your topic. And many people will say that problem, if you define properly, half the the project is solved, half the execution is done, I can say. how to solve, you have a lot of methodologies. I'll just only give my case studies and you will come to know based on that. You get some idea. And does the existing methods in the same area apply? You have to see that these methods, whatever you are applying, are going to apply, does it relevant to your current area? And you sometimes unrelated fields, you have to choose the methodology from any of the field which is not relevant to you. That is also very important. And you have to come out with a new approach. I will tell you in my case, there are 3-4 new approaches I have developed. Just I'll show you in the case study. Finally, whatever method you have identified, whether is it appropriate and adequate, you have to find out through proper testing and proper methodology. And fundamentals must be sound. That is why if you are a PhD scholar, that's why initially you have to take subjects and clear the subjects. So those subjects should guide you or will give you a proper sound basics such that the research problem is properly addressed. There are many number of effective research strategies. I keep some of the projects when I was in government, I have taken like 5 to 6 IASC professors in my project team, and when we are working with them, so we come out with a lot of strategies. I'll precisely will mention. One is it is all about passion. Okay, so most of the time, research either for a publication, either for completing a master's or BTech thesis, either for completing our PhD degree, to be frank. But a passion should come out. Suppose if you take a particular subject area, if you are really passionate about it, then only you do it. And it will definitely provide knowledge, because that converts into an application-oriented research area. Because once the outcome is good, so society or that application, you can take it forward. And at the end of the day, it is, you just have to enjoy the work. So topics of the research, there are a number of topics you can choose. One is whether the subject interests you or not, very important. And next is, many times we miss the mentors. Okay, so if you are doing in a particular area, not only the existing guide, you have to find the mentors. Because see, LinkedIn is a professional network. I have like 4,000 plus LinkedIn connections. When I am doing a particular research, I connect the mentors through them. Take a simple problem also. So they give, sometimes they send the material. I'm talking about the physical materials also in my project. Sometimes they'll send the documents. Sometimes they'll share the research outcome. So it is very important, are the mentors are available within your preview, because many times you have to meet them physically. So physical meetings will happen once your half of the research work is done. It is good to have one-to-one interaction, or otherwise you can even interact or find the mentors online, in the sense through professional network. And does the subject what you are doing, does it have a future? Also important. Or otherwise, whatever research you do, does it have a connectivity in the future? Very important. So whenever I do research, particularly for masters or my PhD scholars, I'll make sure now that data science, AML and other things are becoming popular. So I include a part of it, such that this fellow will learn Python. This fellow will at least come out with a kind of programming skill and come out with some kind of application on it. And end of the day, it has to be beneficial to the society or the mankind. That's what we are all aiming at. So whether you teach, so you make the students good, those people will be helpful for the society. Similarly, in research also, when you take up some research problem, it should finally beneficial to the society. For the sake of paper, for the sake of something else, we can do it. But that doesn't give you real satisfaction. So you can change and also availability of funding, whether internal funding or external funding. You can easily find you can easily connect, like suppose if you are developing something, some product, if the product is marketable and there are a lot of people who can take the product, meet them first, they are going to give the fund. Definitely they are going to give the fund. Only thing is, we have a lot of classwork, we are engaged with a lot of things, but it is very difficult for us to meet people and to interact with the people in the same area. Otherwise, you will get definitely fund. And the literature survey, many times, we just Google it. Just Googling it will give you only 5% of your data or the 5% of data. So many of the data related or latest, you have to pay for it. Luckily, we are in a college where in college having a some of the good domain access, particularly science direct and etc. And you have to not only read the textbooks and current articles, and also you have to evaluate the entire review, whatever you have done. Then you have to organize. Anyway, this I don't want to elaborate much. So you have to identify even the problems in a different way. Like, is it like a narrow-based problem or a broader perspective problem? Or otherwise, what kind of facilities available within the vicinity around you? Very important. So many times we end up like, okay, my college has got only this equipment. So I will shut my research area scope, to this only. Why not you can find out the nearby college within a vicinity of 100 kilometers. Okay, you develop the linkages and collaborate with him. You tell them that, this particular area, if I use this instrument, you also give your inputs. Suppose if I am going for a publication, let us publish together. So definitely the others will agree. And there are, two different types of facilities. One is computational and another one is experimental facility. Computational, many of the colleges, particularly based on the type of funding they get, they procure like MATLAB, proper version. Or I'm just giving an example. Those are like computational facilities. Experimental, again, depending on the project and depending on the PhD project, what they get, they keep on. Anyway, that call is from my PhD scholar who is having a research lab in Bangalore. Okay, so he is working on a latest work on geopolymer blocks. Okay, even though he is working with the area. So I'm just telling what kind of facilities, what kind of facilities your institute and within the vicinity is available. Next, expertise. Many times we don't know what to choose, like SEM, there are like different kinds of equipments, only for SEM also. So which one to choose, what kind of magnification factor. So when you get a SEM study, you don't know how to analyze, how to draw out the conclusions out of it. There are experts who can guide you in that direction. Go, meet them, understand. You have to spend a lot of time, basically. Time frame involved is also very important in solving. So during my PhD work, I did a part-time PhD when I was working as a scientist. I have taken a problem and I have written the funding to my ministry. I got the funding for my PhD project. So entire work I have done it in my institute only. But I need mentors. I need expertise to evaluate. So the basic table when I did, like when we manufacture, it's a shop table. So what kind of IS sections we have to take. So there is a similar kind of table available in Indian Institute of Sciences. So they visited and understood the mechanism. Okay, it's basically the frequency of the table should not match with the frequency of the building which I am constructing. So then we have built a table. We fabricated the table such that the natural frequency of the building is 10 times more than that of the tables frequency is 10 times more than that of the radio. So vibration analysis we do. Okay. So what I mean to say is, so how much time again it will take, and the time frame is very, very important. Particularly when you are.
How can I know expertise available?
Expertise available, again I'm telling you, have to depend on, again, social network, and you keep searching different educational institutions, not only educational institutions, in and around, we have a CPET, right? So without knowing, in and around, we have like 10 to 15 state and central government institutions, research organizations, wherein people are working. We don't know, sometimes when we go there, if I just come out of this college, there is a National Mineral Development Corporation Limited. Okay, so wherein they work on mining related and other things. Luckily one day a friend came out here and told one of my friend is working as a director over here. Then suddenly I went along with him. Then I shocked, like it is only 1 kilometer distance, but I didn't know. So only thing is, you just have to find out what kind of state government, central government research organizations that are there within the state, and start making communication with them. So I am telling you, networking is the key. Please remember. And having a good, you write a mail, just go and meet. Tell that I am working in the same research area. So I would like to make a visit, sir, next week, half day. So just permit me, and then we would like to see the facilities. So as a faculty, if you write, definitely anyone will accept. Then just you have to go, make a visit. Sometimes if that strategy doesn't work, write a letter from principal that 10 of the students are coming to see the facility. Go along with them and then develop contacts. If he is not willing, when you go there, there are a lot of others. Interact with them. Sometimes your frequency matches with any one of it. Then start developing contacts and start interacting. That is it. So open problems, anyway, you should have individual skills, experimental strategies, objectives should be clear. Only thing is the discipline. So because of our work, nature of work, teaching is less now. We just have to satisfy all the accreditation criteria. So how do you manage the time is very, very important. Okay. So once, if you are disciplined in organizing the timelines, your job is done. So presentation anyway, it is like you get a preliminary findings and keep presenting those things in different forums, and then get the discussion happened and then final format. Writing the dissertation, I am not stretching too much. There are like good practices I am going to tell during your course. One is editing softwares you must know. Many of the times I learned MS Word is fine. I have learned LaTeX. LaTeX, some of the research papers they will ask, even the thesis, writing, and this you have to identify in the beginning itself. Next is computational tools. With Excel, I've seen a lot of people have done a lot of things. Particularly when I get the Fourier analysis data, do you know that with the data you can do the Fourier transformation in Excel? There is an option. You can validate the data, frequency data, and you can do that. I have done it for my PhD thesis. Very interesting. Even though Excel looks very, small, but it does all kinds of those calculations. And MATLAB is another one. And it is very important to frequently present your work. We hesitate to do that. We think like, if I present, they will start the same work. No, don't worry, let them do it. But it is very important to present your work, even though it is a small one. You start with a BTech project. Go present yourself. A paper is there. Don't tell the student to go and tell. You present it. Then you get a lot of questions. So make sure you iterate, do that, and develop the literature review based on the beginning. I will tell my story. Masters, all my research work started in masters. So when I was doing my masters in construction technology at BMS College of Engineering, Bangalore. So I was like, I finished my, all the 2 semesters. So 6 of the students were there. I was one among them. My professor told, there are like 6 research problems. You have to take one of it. Because students hesitate to take experimental problems. This was in 2002. Okay. So I went and asked my, the colleague students, and then they've quickly taken the easy ones. There are only 2 problems left. One is visiting the sites and collecting the data. Second is doing the experiments in a lab. So then that other guy having a bike that time, he chose that visiting the sites and collecting the data. Okay. So my professor told me to take that first. Okay, I went to a research organization opposite to it. And then I asked one more external guy. Then he says like, okay, let us take one problem which has not started in India. So there is a concrete where it flows on its own weight. It doesn't require to vibrate. Okay. So fine, I have taken one topic that is called self-compacting concrete. So then I was staying in one of the room there. So all the other machine design, there are friends like power electronics, all were going to IASC one day. So I told I will also come along with you. Because next to IASC there is a temple, Mahalakshmi temple, wherein I can visit. That is the purpose of my visit, to be frank. So okay, we have taken the permission, went inside the IASC library. I am talking about in 2002. Suddenly picked up, I was going along with them. They told, no, civil department library is not here. You have to go to first floor. I'm just following them. So out of the blue. So then I went to first floor. I'm randomly searching this topic, a particular topic what I chose. So wherein only 10 papers were available. So then I took the Xerox and then I started searching. On the topic, that particular moment, there were only 52 papers were there. I made it 2 volumes. Then I came. So that is the entire papers that are available till now on that topic. Then just came back and then started working on those papers, and rest is a story. So what I mean to say is, it is very important when you are collecting the review of literature. Sometimes with or without money, you have to push yourself. So sometimes without interest we go, sometimes with interest you go. When you keep pushing yourself, at some day or some point you realize that you have to do. And also you have to involve students in your research work. Okay, then I will start based on my work. One is, once the question is posed, you have to make a proper problem statement. That is the first step. I will tell you my background of my research work. What happened? You know that Northeast is a seismically prone area. Okay, we call it as 7 sisters. Okay, their earthquakes are more. They're using a housing methodology over there. Okay, so we developed, when I was in government, we developed a housing system that's called Impurity Trada housing system, wherein I understood that same house was already tested on shake table, so which was at CPRI, Bangalore, Central Power Research Institute. Okay, wherein 3-dimensionally you can test the seismic performance of the building. But why Central Power Research Institute having the shake table? That is to test the transformers, because transformers will become vulnerable in the event of earthquakes. That's why each and every sample of transformer, they will test it for the earthquake. Okay. So the same table, it is like a 4 meter by 5 meter table. So we have tested the building, one model. So we have tested for zone 4, zone 5 and zone 5 repeated. The fatigue we check, giving the same earthquake data will test the building. And at the end of the test program, we have not seen any kind of cracks out there. Okay. Now my problem statement is to find the number of models. So when we realized, suppose if I wanted to establish the same facility in my organization, it costs 1.52 crores. My institute doesn't support. Okay. So next, if I wanted to test the single model, they're charging almost like 5 to 6 lakhs for each model. So then I started, and finally end of the program, we could not able to assess the vulnerability. So then we found the alternative, that is a simple shock table, where it's a two-dimensional. There's a pendulum will hit the table. We measure the vibrations, we measure the crack progress and other things. So within 5 lakhs, we could establish the facility. So this is the background of my problem. So there is a facility where I need to test the building till the damage, and then number of models I have to test it. So I have found the problem. So it is very important to formalize, conceptualize the problem. And anyway, this is all like, how much knowledge you are gaining and what kind of problem. Is it easy and hard? This is a graph, you can see that. So if you are going towards easy problem, the gain of knowledge is less. If you are going hard, and you get a larger gain of knowledge. So then, same thing, I'm telling you my thesis. This is the broad research objective I have finalized. Okay. So to test finally on the table, you need to make the building. Okay. To make the building, you have to use some materials. So the major material I've used is a bamboo. So again, there are a number of components: wall components, roof component, other components. So each of the component, so I have taken a particular species, tested all strength and elastic properties, and element testing I have done. Then I have fabricated, characterized the table, and then did the free vibration test, and did the fundamental frequency of the house model, and analytical studies are carried out, and finally did the full scale models. So this is how any problem if you take up, you just have to from the beginning. Like if you have a material, if you are using a material to make some component, finally you are testing the bigger component. But does the material properties do you have? You have to identify. If not, you have to test it, or otherwise get it from some other organization or with some other collaborator. Very important. And you have to. There are a lot of hypotheses initially you make. Like this may behave like that. Okay, you have to make number of hypotheses. Which one suits in the progress? While carrying out the experiments, one of the hypotheses fits. So that you have to take it forward. So that's where the mentors or expertise will help you out. Literature review, as I've told, it is based on your area of the work. Purpose of literature review, I don't want to explain, because we know that why we do that. So one is you get to motivated when you are doing the literature review. Okay, similar work has been done. Okay, this area they have not tapped, and also missed out things you have to list out, and also possibility of achieving the first of its kind. Many times you come out with a new problem or a new solution, wherein finally you get applauded. Supporting articles, main you have to take the journal articles, and then patents you have to find out, and then the monograms, textbooks, all these expert opinions and so on. So branded international only you have to do, because there is a thorough systematic research work, it happens. Some of the Indian journals in your area also you have to find. So as I told, like Google will give you only 5 to 10% of the research literature review. So there are like paid, you have to find out the library based. Some of you are the members of technical societies, wherein they have a quarterly journals or monthly journals. You can find out it, because I am a member for many of the associations. Like even the mechanical engineering number of associations are there. Okay, and wherein they release the bulletins, wherein you get to find sometimes I found a newsletter, one of the research areas. A small write-up on a newsletter is similar to my research work. Then I have taken up further, contacted him and carried out the research work. We don't know which one will click. And this one, like many times review papers we do. Okay, so not less than 60 papers. So one of the review paper I'll show you. This is like nanotechnology review. There are like 146 references. Each and every line, each and every line you are collecting from the other paper. So the complete review, what I mean to say. Abstract is only 4 lines. 12-page review and 146 references. So you have to go through such papers if you want to write a review paper in your area. Very, very important. So literature evaluation, it will lead to a possible solution. Okay. On the other hand, it turns up nothing, but you can justify. Suppose if you are doing some work based on literature review, you can justify your work. Acquiring data is very, very important. Many times we miss that. Okay. Literally saying, before starting my work, I visited all the 7 states. Because I was in government, government will spend, I can go there. But you have to find out like where are the places where your research is going on, and you have to collect the data. So I went and visited different housing patterns in Northeast, wherein this material is majorly they are using it for those houses. So what I mean to say is, you have to gather the data, acquire the data in your research problem area. So next is, find out what is the long-term performance of that particular material you are developing. If there are existing studies are there, you just have to go, visit and find out like, this is, these houses like 25 years, after 25 years, still it is intact. So you have to make sure that what is the long-term performance of these materials. Okay, if those materials if you are using in a new product, what may be your, the durability factor. Next is, many times we miss the standards and codes. There are proper standards and codes. Indian standard codes, all of you know them. So each and every material we have the codes. So we have a National Building Code of India. Just to ask you, what is the IS code number 1? IS code 1. So IS code 1 is for our national flag. So Indian standard code. We have like our helmets. Helmet is having IS some number. So basically there is a code to make that product. So each and every product which you are going to make having an Indian standard code. Find out if there is a code, and then accordingly you have to test the product, make the product. If not, if it is a completely new product, you draw the guidelines, send it to BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards. They will approve your codes. I was in 3-4 committees in BIS. So CPET is one of the committee, CPET, and there are like all the members will be there. So in which area you are working, Suppose if you are exemplary in your area, in your area of research work, they will make you one of the BAS members. You just have to communicate with them. So it is very important to know the standards and codes, existing standards and codes. If not, in your research area, make a draft code, send it to BAS developer. If that product comes and sees light in the market, so your code will become the main source for the society. So data analysis. Once you collect the data, you have to analyze the data. Very important. And interpretation. So now there are like models, existing models, how to interpret the data. So now there is a difference between qualitative and quantitative research, which you are doing. Okay, and qualitative, you come up with a detailed description, and quantitative, so features you will, how best it is, how much percentage, all that. And data is in qualitative research in the form of interviews, pictures, videos, with the samples. Okay, but in case of quantitative, only in the form of numbers and statistics.